What up, gang? It's Mang, and in this video I'm going to be covering the top 10 cards you cannot miss at your pre-release for Aetherdrift. Let's get into it. All of these cards on this list are what I would consider to be of bomb quality, a card so high in quality that you should be prioritizing it and trying to play it at all costs. These cards will ideally pull you into the color pair that you should be playing. At number 10, Ganosaur Rex. For 5 mana, you get an 8/8 Trampler, and if you want, for 3 mana, you can actually cycle this creature and use it as a combat trick, where you will discard this card, draw a card, 2 1/1 counters on up to 1 target creature or vehicle. It gains Trample and Indestructible until end of turn. This is a combat trick that your opponents will never see coming. You will save your creature, win the combat, and potentially push for lethal. If a 5 mana 8/8 Trampler wasn't pushed enough, having this cycling combat trick as a backup plan is always something you're going to be wanting to play. At number 9, we have the Aether Spark. It's a 4 mana legendary planeswalker equipment. Your opponents cannot even attack the Aether Spark if it is equipped to one of your creatures. The plus ability allows you to attach the Aether Spark and put a 1/1 counter on the creature you control. The Aether Spark gains loyalty for the amount of combat damage you deal during your turn. So this includes damage to your opponent's creatures. It doesn't have to hit the face, and you're going to be growing this to the point using the -5 ability on the subsequent turns and drawing 2 cards at will. Could ultimate this for -10 to add 10 mana, but those first 2 abilities is what makes the Aether Spark fit into any deck and overwhelm your opponent with card advantage. At number 8, we have Atchik, Emerald Radian, this insect druid for 6 mana in the Golgari colors. When it enters, you create a 1/1 green insect creature token for each artifact and or creature in your graveyard. You're going to fill the board with insects, overrun your opponent, and whenever an insect you control dies, you put a 1/1 counter on Atchik, and each opponent loses 1 life. This thing resolves into play, your opponent cringes, you flood your board, and you slowly drain them away, swinging recklessly. Atchik is the king of the insects in Aetherdrift. At number 7, we have Debris Beetle. This is a 4 mana artifact vehicle that is 6/6 with Trample, and when it enters, you get the Siege Rhino. It's the Dung Rhino ability, where you drain for 3 life, and it only costs 2 to crew this big beater into play. Debris Beetle is going to take home our 7th spot. At number 6, we have Howl Squad Heavy. This is a 3 mana Goblin Mercenary with Start Your Engines. Other goblins you control have haste, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, you create a 1/1 red goblin token that attacks this combat if able. And since it has haste, it will be able, and you'll be swinging. This is the Goblin Rabble Master of the racetrack. Once you hit max speed, you can actually tap your goblins and add red mana for each goblin you control. It ramps you, it keeps the aggressive speed game plan at the forefront. Howl Squad Heavy is our number 6 card. Number 5, we have Demonic Junker. This has affinity for artifacts, so you can ignore the 7 mana cost. You will never be paying that much when you play Demonic Junker. When this vehicle enters, for each player, you destroy up to 1 target creature that player controls. If a creature you controlled was destroyed this way, you put 2 1/1 counters on this vehicle. So it enters, each player destroys a creature, you destroy your worst one, you destroy the best one on the opponent's side, and you grow the Demonic Junker and use it to beat down your opponent. So it does something when it enters and grows over the course of the game. You can cast this for 3, maybe even 4 mana in most board states, especially in the black-blue archetype. Demonic Junker will be discounted to the point where it'll enter and cause some havoc on the battlefield. At number 4, Draconic's Engineer. This is a rare Goblin Artificer for 2 mana. You get 2 very powerful exhaust abilities. The first one, you can pay 1 red. Other creatures you control gain haste until end of turn. Put a 1/1 counter on this creature. And then for 4 mana, you can create a 4/4 red Dinosaur Dragon creature token with flying. There's so much value packed into this card. You play this on 2, your opponent's going to have to deal with it, and you're more than likely going to 2 for 1, maybe even 3 for 1 in value, playing Draconic's Engineer. This is going to go in every red deck. At number 3, I could have picked more Gear Hulks, but I chose Riptide Gear Hulk as the most impactful one here. It is difficult to cast, but if you are in blue-white artifacts, you're going to be wanting to play the Gear Hulk if you opened one. For 5 mana, double white, double blue, You will have a double strike prowess creature that will grow and impact the game mightily. Whenever this creature enters for each opponent, being one in a pre-release, you put up to one target non-land permanent that player controls into its owner's library, third from the top. So we've seen these effects in blue cards in the past where it enters and it bounces something out of play. More than likely your opponent won't be alive long enough to recast that thing 3 turns from now. So the Riptide Gearhulk takes our number 3 spot. If I opened a Riptide Gearhulk in my pool, I will be trying my darndest to get this thing into play and try to close out some games. At number 2, we have Mu Yanling Windrider. It costs 4 for this legendary human wizard pilot. When it enters, you create a 3/2 colorless vehicle artifact token with crew 1. Vehicles you control will now have flying, and whenever one or more creatures you control with flying deal combat damage to a player, draw a card. We've seen these effects with Enduring Curiosity and Duskmourn. Just the card advantage you get, the evasiveness you're going to get on your artifacts, your vehicles. This is a lot of value packed into one card. First impressions suggest that these board states in Aetherdrift can stall out and get very convoluted. Having flying on your vehicles usually is enough to go and fly over the top and put pressure on your opponent. Mu Yanling is one of the most impactful cards in the set, and I would have put it at number 1 if it wasn't for this one here. At number 1, we have Sky Sovereign Console Flagship. For 5 colorless mana, you get a flying 6/5 artifact vehicle, and when it enters or attacks, it deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls, and has crew 3. This is going in every single deck in Aetherdrift. I don't care what archetype you're playing. If you open one of these, congrats, you hit the lottery. Sky Sovereign Console Flagship is our number 1 card in Aetherdrift and going in each and every one of my decks. If you're going to a pre-release, I hope you open one of these. I wish you the best of luck. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be doing tons of Aetherdrift breakdown, limited gameplay once we get it on Arena. And I have 2 pre-releases this weekend. I hopefully can report back with some good news. Do me a favor, show your appreciation for the channel with a like and subscribe on the way out, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace!